Before we get started today, I want to say thank you for every single like, comment, recommendation, and a very special thank you to my listener support group. If you like what we do here at Off the Deep End Podcast, please consider checking out the listener support tab on our channel's anchor link. Without you, we would not be able to continue the great work we're doing with these conversations, breaking down boundaries and helping heal each other by sharing our stories, our trials, our tribulations, and how we process them. Let's jump straight into this episode.
Are you thinking about making a podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one, and if I can figure it out, you definitely can too. You can create your own content all in one place for free with zero hangups and even earn money as soon as you get started. Spotify lets you record and edit episodes from your phone or computer so you can go mobile, just like I enjoy to do. My favorite thing about it is that you can create video episodes if you wish and upload them to wherever podcasts are heard. You can even set up subscriptions or, if you're like me, listener support options for listeners to help you grow. I 10 out of 10 recommend the Spotify for Podcasters app. Or, why don't you just step over to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your own podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Off the Deep End Podcast. I'm joined today in a very special event outside of the MVP Seattle chapter gym here, Rebel Fitness in Renton. So thanks everybody for tapping in. I got a special guest today. Miss Erin is going to be joining us.
Podcast.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Right here in the back of everything. Much love, brother. Enjoy the workout. So we are getting started. So thank you, Miss Erin, for joining me. I'm so excited that we were able to get this done. I'm so excited that Amy's pulling up right next to us. So this is just perfect. Why don't we start with the most important thing, which is the foundation that we lay. What was your childhood like?
Oh wow, we're just jumping right into the ugly of it, huh? Can I cuss in this?
Yeah, we swear all the time.
All right. My childhood, up until I was about 5, was decent. Mm-hmm. After that, it got really shitty, really dark. But the aftermath of all that is it taught me to be very independent, very confident and sure of what I can do, and gave me the courage and the strength to do everything I've done and throughout the rest of my life. So,
awesome.
Blessing in the end.
Blessing in the end. I love that. That's my favorite. One of my favorite reasons for, kind of exfoliating someone's childhood and going over the parts of it is because it lays a very, very strong foundation for who someone is or who they might be in the future. A lot of times our childhood tendencies drive us towards wanting to not make the same mistakes our parents make or be just greater than our original dreams back then. Or sometimes we doubt ourselves as we grow and we kind of cut out the possibility of being better in the future. What do you think is one of the driving factors towards what you do in this day and age that you started with in your childhood?
This is funny, but the last couple of days I've done some reflecting and joking around. And one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to be Johnny Appleseed and walk across America and, befriend all the animals along the way. Well, fast forward into 2013 when I got out of the military. Since then, I've done long-distance hikes where I've hiked the Appalachian Trail, PCT, Washita, all these different trail systems, right? And it's like I got to live my childhood dream finally.
Wow. That's awesome. I love nature too. I don't know if I'll be doing any hiking in the future because of my knees, but it's definitely something I want to continue to do. I don't think there's anything more special about the PNW other than its ability to give you a 30-minute drive and then you're in a completely different realm altogether. And I love nature around here. So what are some of your favorite hikes that you've done?
In what country or state?
All of them.
Man, that's hard to say. The Lara Pinta in Australia was absolutely desolate and beautiful. You got to really be comfortable with not running into another human for weeks on end. Like one night I slept with a cow. I don't know where this cow came from, but I was tired of dragons and kangaroos trying to kill me, and I came across the cow, and I knew the cow wasn't going to hurt me, so that's where I slept. And I didn't see a person I was out there for 9 or 10 days, and I didn't see one single person the entire time. And you're just out in the red desert of Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
So why they call it the red desert? Is it because of the sand itself?
Yeah.
Oh, that's badass. So are kangaroos as dangerous as people say they are.
Yes, they're little raptors, like velociraptors turned into kangaroos. They encircle you, right? And then they hiss at you and they will attack you.
Oh my goodness. I saw one had a dog in it like a I don't know, kind of like a mini headlock thing, and then the owner runs up and starts beating the shit out of it. I love it. I love fierce people about animals. I think it's really important to do. Well, so from your childhood, what kind of drove you towards what you do in this day and age? Because you spend so much time in the veteran space affecting others in a positive light, and you also have a certain swagger about you that just exudes confidence in times where I would definitely be uncomfortable or nervous in the spaces you operate in. So what did you have this pathway selected in your youth, or was it your teenage years? What was it that drove you towards it?
That's a good question. I got comfortable with death at an early age, and I got comfortable. I wouldn't say comfortable. I got calloused to atrocities at an early age, and so. Part of me, I wanted to be, as a little kid, I couldn't fight the adults, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think I looked towards people that could fight as somebody I wanted to be. And then that's probably what made me join the military, especially right after 9/11, was here I was finally an adult, so I thought, and I could go fight the bad people. And, through 4 combat tours and 10 years in the service, I learned that, it's not that black and white. And if I'm going to fight anything, it's going to be to fight for something. And that's why I do what I do now.
Wow. I love that. So you kind of became the person you wanted as a superhero in your life as a child. Somebody who's a fighter.
Yeah, it's crazy. I Facebook memes or whatever had this thing the other day that said, as a scared little kid, we always dream an adult's going to come save us. We never realize it's going to be ourselves one day. And I was like, Jesus, holy fuck, that hit home.
Yeah, I definitely have the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. Oh my goodness, I think it's so important to acknowledge a speech by Matthew McConaughey. He talked about who does he chase. He chases himself in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. He's always chasing a better version of himself. And that really spoke to me with what you said as well. So, you obviously have been in the military. It's pretty obvious. You have the military swag about yourself. Tell me about signing up for that. I have a lady friend who just signed up for the Air Force. I'm going to say a prayer for her soul, right? Because my stepdad was in the Air Force, so I always have to talk shit on every podcast about it. So what drove you? So once you're in the military, what was what drove you to choose the career field in the military that you did?
At the time, it was because I was a military police, and that was the closest thing to combat arms that females could do at the time. I joined back in 2003, and so that's why I joined. I couldn't be infantry, so I went MP and just volunteered for all the rotations to Iraq and Afghanistan. And when my branch wouldn't let me deploy anymore, then I got out.
Okay. So what does being in the military police kind of field have to entail? Because I know in the Navy, a lot of the sailors look at MAs as snitches, people that screw over their blue
MPs are the worst. They will fuck over their own kind harder than anybody else.
Oh man.
Yes.
So the rumors are partially true.
They're all true. They're probably watered down.
Oh no!
All watered down.
Oh no! So I'm going to call Josh Wilden a Fed boy from now on.
Yeah. So I was lucky in the sense that for the first 8 years, I never had to do law enforcement. Not true law enforcement. There's a couple of times that hopefully, the statute limitations are gone now, where we would have to do law enforcement in a Cut V in Yakima, and all we did was ride around in the backcountry and shoot. I call them goph monks. I have no idea what they are. The little fat animals, and would shoot them with slingshots. And that was the closest thing to law enforcement I ever did for the first 8 years. Deployed, we did not have a law enforcement job, and then my last 2 years, I had to do law enforcement, and that's why I got out.
Okay. So I see. I think so. You're very true. I would say you're true to your beliefs, and you're true to yourself. You want to do what you want to do, and you don't want to be pushed in a direction that doesn't align with your personal values. So you have a strong constitution.
I would say that's accurate.
Awesome.
I'd say that's accurate.
That's awesome. I have a very good friend that I work with, and she was in the military. I don't want to mess up. I'm not going to say her MOS because I'm going to mess it up.
No
It's the
worries.
wrong one. It's definitely not 11 Bravo. But she was in the military police as well, and she went undercover and handled child sex crimes
Nice.
and also any special. Pretty much, she was like SVU for the military, and I thought that was a very, very heavy burden to carry.
Takes a special type of person to do that, for sure.
What type of qualities does the military look for when it comes to doing a career field like that? I know she said she was hand selected to do it. So what do they look for in an individual to assign them to do something as serious as hunt down pedophiles in the United States military?
I would say somebody with drive and control, because if you don't have one or the other, you're not gonna, you gotta have that drive to want to hunt those fuckers down, but at the same time the control not to cut their throats.
Absolutely. I think that's an important quality to have. Emotional discipline is not easy, not something that's easy, especially when it comes to dealing with.
I couldn't do that job. I cut their fucking throats.
They're definitely first they're getting their hands crushed, and then they're going to get a whole lot of other things. I don't want to promote violence here.
Self-defense.
Self-defense of a child, right?
That's right.
It has to happen.
Yep.
So the military police, I assume it was pretty warm overseas. What type of armor did they have you all wearing?
At first it was the IBAs, and then actually let me bring that back a notch. When I crossed the berm from Kuwait to Baghdad, I was a replacement into my unit that had already been there for 3 months or 4 months or whatever. Okay. And I had Vietnam era like flak vest. That's all I had. And then I got an IBA in country, and then we had, oh god, I'm gonna fuck it up, whatever the ones were with the ripcord. They were very uncomfortable. I hated them, but it made it easy to pull off.
At the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah, well, no. So, like you say, if you get shot, a medic needs to get to you, catch on fire, something, you got to DD-mount the fuck out of something, and you got to drop your kit to do it. You just pull a ripcord, and the whole thing breaks apart.
Okay. But yeah, they didn't issue. It was very, very, very rare that in the Navy you got issued any type of body-worn armor. So we were pretty much exposed out there, especially when Iran came up. Popping their shots with their 50s. So
they wouldn't have stopped at 50 anyway.
No, they just keep shooting.
7.62, a couple 7.62, and they'll go right through that plate.
Yeah, it's a mess too. I never thought for a second that I would be protected by my fire retardant coveralls. And they were not. They were literally called that. So don't cancel me, y'all. That's what it was called. So we were in the 150-degree heat over there, wearing all black coveralls, which were not very light, and just completely drenched. Morning, noon, and night, unless we were changing our clothes or showering or doing laundry. So, obviously it's definitely hot overseas, right? How can you explain what it's like to walk off the plane for the first time after this plane goes by?
After the plane goes by?
Yes. So you're flying in country.
I mean, it's a heat wave. It's like a blow dryer, a torch, a furnace, and like this big ass fan just blowing on you, right? Like it is. I don't know. You want to hear a funny story about that?
Let's rock.
So inappropriate.
There's all sorts of inappropriate.
Okay.
Everyone's heard T-Lo's podcast. Okay, that was inappropriate. This is gonna be water. This is gonna be good.
So we landed in J-Bad, right? Mm-hmm. Coming off the C-130 off the back of the ramp, the engines are still running on the plane. For whatever the reason, the guys didn't piss in any bottles on our little jump from Bagram over to J-Bad. And we all had to pee, so we run out the back of the C-130, go to the HESCO barriers, and we all line up, and basically everybody's just standing there pissing, right? I squeeze in next to them, drop down, start pissing. Well, the C-130 decided to pivot, and the prop wash from the airplane is now turned on us. So not only are we getting this hot desert Cheetos and ass smelling heat and air blown on us, but now I am in this whirlwind of all my entire squad pissing on me because it's blowing their urine all over me, who's squatted down to pee as well.
Jesus Christ!
Told you, inappropriate.
That's some real military story shit. There's so much bad shit that happens. Oh my god! I remember one time. Someone had to pee on watch off the back of the aircraft carrier, and the wind was blowing sideways, and they ended up peeing on their partner who was on watch with them. And how crazy is it that you're driving a ship forward and that your pee ends up right next to you into somebody else who's probably stayed behind you because you're on watch as a partnership.
Oh my goodness.
What a fucking mess.
I love it. I love it. That's the kind of shit you can't make up.
Oh, definitely the type of shit you can't make up. I think one of the toughest parts for me for thinking about the idea of jumping in the water behind the ship is CHT, collection, holding, and transfer. It is human waste from the toilets that they splurge into the sea. So you ever wonder why the Iranian Navy smells like shit and shoots like shit and is shit? It's because they definitely
somebody's got a grudge.
They've been driving around in their boats, just splashing themselves with a bunch of 5,000 Americans shit, piss, and everything else behind the aircraft carrier. I couldn't even imagine. But the worst part about it is me having to drive the boat, the small boat that we deploy, the ribs, 7-meter rigid hull inflatable boats that we deploy on the side for man overboard and whatever. If the admiral wants to go splash out, and he was at the front of the boat, and I was just gassing it. And he was just getting the nice spray in his face, and I'm back there near the console, driving at the aft end of the boat, laughing my ass off. Like he has no idea what that weird smell is.
That ain't seafoam.
That's not the coast of the Persian Gulf. It's not. Oh my goodness. So what else about deployment really stood out to you? The funniest shit.
Oh God, funny stuff. Man, there's so much. I don't even know. Where does it end and begin? I mean, they were the best of times, the worst of times, right? Like, I don't even know. The dark humor, you know, the laughing at really, really fucked up shit, but like truly belly laughing at it, right? Like, you can't do. People look at you like you're crazy here and you need to talk to somebody. When there, it was like, that's what got you through those times.
I think dark humor is very important. It's a way for us to kind of decompress from the pressure that builds up when you're in a tough situation with people and you're literally forging life bonds that are stronger than life itself. Like, I don't think there's anything more powerful than the friendships we build in the United States military. They become very similar to family often.
Absolutely. And there's not a day that doesn't go by when I don't think of, like, some, you know, the people I deployed with, and especially my ride or dies, right? Like, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about them. I don't always call them, but I think about them every day.
I love that. Well, as this next plane flies over, one of my favorite memories is hearing the jets on the flight deck. I also now suffer from some hearing loss issues because of that.
I bet.
What are some of the loudest noises you heard while serving the country?
Getting blown up is pretty loud. The loudest one, the donkey screaming. No, I'm kidding. There was a 5,000-pound Russian drop bomb from like the Mujahideen days. And we're out in this, I'll leave the town's names out for whatever reason. But they flagged us down one day, and so we went and talked to them. I mean, this little place was so fucking poor. They used to smuggle sticks from Pakistan. Like, that's how I don't know what the fuck they did with sticks. Because they took cheap shit and they kicked it on the side of their mud huts. They dried it out, and then that's what they cooked it with. But for whatever reason, smuggling sticks was their jam. And you couldn't get there except for when the riverbed was dried out, and then you could drive in the riverbed to get to them. And then when it was rainy season, you couldn't get to them. But anywho, I digressed. They flagged us down, and there had been a huge landslide, and there's this bomb just chilling on the side of the mountain that they wanted us to get rid of. And so we called EOD out there to assess, and they thought they could blow it, which they did. Again, I mean, this is a almost 30-year-old bomb that's just been rusting away. When that motherfucker blew, it came, like, I thought the mountain was going to fall on top of us. Like, it was insane. We were probably about 100 meters away from it, but on the other side of the mountain, right? And so there's, like, this draw that went down, and we were on the other side of it. And, like, they had mud huts and, like, caves in the side of the mountain, but they had, like, real windows, you know, in their little caves. And, like, there wasn't one piece of glass left. Like, it was just shattered, everything. I was in an ASV, and like it rocked my world. I felt like I was 10,000 feet under the sea and just being enveloped in, I don't know how to explain it. I was probably the loudest though.
Whoa. Yeah, I definitely didn't hear anything like that. I wouldn't want to hear anything ever again after that. I would have a headache for weeks. Jesus Christ. What are your favorite novels surrounding your time over there overseas? Have you listened to anybody? Because I know that a lot of my buddies were deployed by the time frame where Tim Kennedy was over there.
Tim Kennedy. So novels, I delve deep into philosophy. Leo Tolstoy was probably my favorite philosopher. Some Gavin de Becker. He was a Colonel Ranger dude. He wrote the book On Killing. Really good book too. As far as like getting me through though, I gotta hand it to my man Dave Chappelle. Got us all through our first and second deployments. Like his shit was so fucking hilarious. If you just needed to pause what was going on, you went to the market, you bought the latest Haji DVD of the Chappelle Show, and the whole platoon got together on their laptop with speakers and watched Dave Chappelle on a little 13-inch screen and laughed our asses off.
I love it.
Dave Chappelle's the man. I wish there was a way he knew what he did for soldiers over there.
You know what? I don't think anybody who creates laughter or joy or excitement in life, or any artist of comedy like Joe Rogan, will ever understand the effect he really has on others. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever in this life. I think there's something really can be specially said about those who are that funny person in the group when other people need to be cheered up, or the person that checks on everybody else when they really need to be checked on. One thing I'm going to ask is, what were some of the obstacles or hardships that you experienced over there?
You know, it was all different. I don't know. The first deployment, biggest obstacles was just finding my place, right? I was 19 years old, and I was like I said, my unit was already there, so I was a little private, so it was finding my place in the role, right? I learned really quick, just shut up and keep my weapon clean and shoot any car that tries to get in our convoy, and I'd be fine. Second deployment, the biggest hurdles was probably just controlling myself. By that time, I was fucking raged out, and you know, a lot of bad stuff had happened by then. Third deployment was Afghanistan, and the hardest part over there was, this is '07, and our leadership was trying to pull garrison life into a deployment, and you can't fucking do that. And so we had this person that was a former drill sergeant try to act like, man, it's a long story, but it was that internal bullshit. I got probably more PTSD from that fucking dumb shit than I ever did for seeing fucking dead bodies or making dead bodies, or you know, anything like that. It was trying to bring garrison to war. That's what drove my fucking anger. And then fourth deployment, it was just a different space. Like, America was in a weird space. Things were shifting on different political climates that was affecting people. You know, the us and them attitude of the civilian world was leading into the army, so we weren't all like green. We weren't all just soldiers. We were men and women. We were LGBTQ. We were straight. We were all these things that...
labels and boxes.
Yeah, and we never had that until, you know, that was 2009, 2010 was when that started to really permeate the forces. And it just fucked up the cohesion of the unit. I don't know, there's just a lot of infighting, and I attribute it to labels and boxes instead of just seeing us all as brothers and sisters. And, you know, in arms, we were this, that, and the third.
Wow. I definitely can relate to that as well. I think that there was a huge shift that came into play, and when you label somebody, you take away their individuality. Individuality is what makes us all great.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things about the military is that bond that we create. So I can definitely understand division, labels, identifying people as individuals in a team rather than a team at all. I think really just kind of singling others out based off of their characteristics instead of focusing on their skills and what they contribute to a team. It can really, really cause so much division, and I think that it's a very slippery slope, especially when it comes to dealing with the art of dealing death to enemies of the United States of America.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So what are some of the potential blowbacks that you can see continuing from, because I know that you stay connected to people who you served with, or maybe this is the people that are still in. I get a lot of feedback about the current state of the military, and it kind of concerns me because it's not, we're supposed to be in a forever college of warfighting, practicing being more lethal and also being more peaceful when it needs to happen as well.
Man, I'm thinking about the career suicide I'm about to say. But if I'm keeping it real, right, which I always do, there's a time and a place for everything. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't own whatever identity you have. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that who you are as a person should define you more than any label that, a census document puts on you. And our generation, our political climate, the way like systems are being built, it's off of that census document. Check what race you are, check what gender you are, check what sex you are, check all these things that really don't make the person. Does having different identities, kind of, or labels, I should say, does it change how people interact with you? Absolutely. I'm not fucking naive. I'm from the South, right? Absolutely, people judge you, but don't do it to yourself. And in the military, I remember poking at each other, and, I was a blunt of a lot of female jokes, right? And then I gave back just as much shit as I took, but it bonded us together. It didn't divide us, and I feel like out here it just divides us.
I think I can agree with you on so many parts that you just brought up. I can also say that there's a very, very dangerous idea that is one of the most dangerous ideas to veterans that I've experienced in this region is identifying as one thing. So saying I'm a veteran, you're a veteran your whole life. Or you can identify as a pilot right now and make life even worse. But the idea of identifying as just one thing and grasping at that, not necessarily a straw, but at that thing that you used to be in the past can be very, very damaging to your vision of the future and your possibility of how you're going to have life after the military. The transition is never an easy thing. I don't know one person who's had a smooth transition and is speaking honestly.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. There's always going to be hurdles in that because your identity is stripped from you, and the carpet gets ripped out. Your friends are gone. Your everything is just, you're 180 from where you were, and all it took was you picking up a piece of paper and walking out of the gate.
I can definitely associate with that. So, how does this lead into what you do in this day and age? What do you do now, and how does your experiences in the military kind of mold how you approach your current career field?
Oh. So one, just having that understand the military culture, right? Because there's some things about our culture. It doesn't matter if you're Navy and I'm Army, right? Mm-hmm. Or your dad's Air Force, or whatever branch you served in. There's some things that we all just understood, that are understood because of the culture. And the system I work within is supposed, and it does, support veterans, but that culture piece is lacking. There's not a lot of vets that work in the arena that I work in. And so, especially in the transitioning space, having an understanding of that culture and what those folks are going through can be really powerful in how you approach them or help them in that transitioning phase.
That's awesome. I'm really happy that you're able to bring certain perspectives that aren't usually covered to people who are transitioning out of the military, people who have transitioned out of the military in body and not in mind, and also people who are really struggling with just getting over the idea of I wouldn't. That's a bad way to say it. I would say getting past their past.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people get so caught up that they can't even recognize a day without speaking about their past, living in the moment because they love it so much. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it can be dangerous to not look into the future with hope, positivity of there being a future.
Right.
We have a big issue right now in this the demographic of those who have served in the Vietnam era. I believe, forgive me if I'm wrong, they're currently the highest increasing rate of and demographic of suicide right now in the United States. And I think that having purpose post the military is a lifesaver. Having purpose in life in general is a lifesaver. And understanding that you don't need a label or a title to be good enough. You just have to look in the fucking mirror is something I really try to get across to those of my friends who are struggling.
It's having that confidence to do something outside of a team. Because you did everything in a team, right? You had that structure. And now it's all on you. And do you have the confidence to go do it alone?
Sounds scary. It definitely sounds scary. Why don't you tell me some of the ideas you look to when it comes to providing others with hope for the future when they don't see it for themselves?
Just never fucking give up. Never give up and like do the fucking work. So, you know, this is like a culture thing, right? For military folks. When you're in a firefight or whatever, like when the Iranians would go by and, you know, I don't know if y'all ever shot at anybody or what.
They wouldn't let the Navy shoot. They would not let the Navy
okay.
shoot. Y'all just stand the fuck by, get nervous,
shit in the water, and let your
just keep dumping the shit in the water, guys. It's nerve. I'm not gonna bullshit you. It's nerve wracking to be on watch on the back of a ship.
Oh yeah.
In the middle of the night, pitch black, and then searchlights blind you, and you hear gunshots.
Oh yeah, I can't even. Yeah.
And you're exposed. That could be.
And you're not allowed to fight back.
And I would say it. When you're that young, and you some of the sailors I left with have never experienced a gunfight or real fear like that before. There's no one coming to save you. You're completely exposed. Welcome to the world. Gunshots? What the fuck are those?
Yeah.
You know, all they knew is that them shooting the shitty ass Beretta M9 in boot camp. Right? My stepdad loves that. He's a shitty gun dad. He bought one for himself. What a mistake. But I think it's so important that we understand that everyone has different experiences in the military.
Yeah,
Not all of them are easy.
No.
I didn't give a shit what they're doing. I was just trying to throw a broom at them. Grab whatever the fuck I could get.
There you go. You see, that's one of the things. You gotta have fight in you, right?
Yes. Oh, the assholes would pull up in their boats and be right on the ass end of the ship at nighttime, but during the day they'd come right up. I looked in the eyes of one of the guys, and I flipped him off, and I was going to throw a broom at his face.
And they like pepper your boat?
No, they're like 30 feet down below us, and I'm on the sponson, and I'm like, "Go fuck yourself, bitch!" And I was trying to, because they would shoot right at us, trying to provoke some shit, right? I think that the government there in Iran thinks that that's their water, so they'll do anything to harm others.
Like fuck with the biggest navy in the world?
Yes.
Well, I remember. Let this plane go by.
When they captured Riveron?
Yeah, they took over that boat and they captured like 12 sailors or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, I know a couple of them.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Man.
And it's because y'all were... See, that's what would fuck me up. Not the bullets coming at me. It's the fact that my chain of command would not support me in defending my life and the life of others around me.
Capture is... I'm not gonna speak for others. I'm just gonna say from my perspective. I do not feel comfortable with giving up a United States asset, whether it's a human being next to me, my vehicle, or myself, or even a fucking U.S. Navy pen from the recruiting office when it comes to somebody else messing with the United States.
Absolutely.
And that's just how I feel about it. I'm willing to die on the hill personally. I'm personally willing to die on the hill of not surrendering who I am as an individual and who I'm representing. It would be very difficult for me to stomach. I would have to have a serious thought. It would be like a very in-depth thought process to: do I listen? Do I do what I'm fucking told, or do I fight back and get killed here, or tortured to death?
Yeah. Do you fight back and get judged by 12? That weren't there, or do you surrender? Yeah, I would like to believe I would light them up.
I don't know. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to speak
on
them.
Exactly.
But I definitely threw a fucking broom on there. I'm going to say it. I definitely threw a broom at them. I didn't give a shit.
Is that against the Geneva Convention?
I hope it is. I hope it is. They can come in. They can come after me if they want to. But I threw it. I was disarmed, but I had a broom, and I've seen 300 a couple times. I know how to throw a fucking spear. So I sent it, and I missed, and they laughed. But fuck them, right?
Fuck them. That's awesome.
They were probably shooting at shooting near one of my sailors, fresh out of high school, scaring the living life out of a young 18-year-old girl who's never left home before.
It builds character.
Before. But it does build character. I think it's important. So what are some of your favorite experiences being able to laugh about the tough shit afterwards?
Oh God. Oh man. All right, so there's this epic night. We were supporting these commandos. Long story short, somebody got kidnapped. We went to try and intervene, right? We're in Iraq. And we pull into this compound, and we're 3 gun trucks. That's it. There's like 12 of us. Actually, there's 9 of us. And there's about 150 people running around with AK-47s from like the age of like 10 to like 80. And
who's Taliban? Who's not? You never know.
Well, yeah, it was a little crazy, but we were invited there by somebody. So we had a good relationship with them, and so we trusted that they were not going to kill us. But, definitely there were some folks that would come by and be like, we could kill you right now, After the background, you hear a Spectre gunship going off, like leveling a city block, because there's this whole engagement. It's the end of 2005, right? So it was right before the uprising. And I don't know if they were on a different if they had a different mission. There was a lot of shit going on that night. Let's just put it that way. And then we were involved specifically on this attack on this family that we were trying to mitigate, to say the least. Anywho's, that was a very crazy night. Things are getting done. It is probably 3-4 a.m. because the sun came up probably about an hour later. But we're heading back to our base. And there's this tank in the middle of the road that had pulled up after, so we had went into the compound and the tank was there when we came out. Didn't know about it. Well, we were driving blackout, and I was the lead gunner. And, my team and I, we had this perfect we were poetry. We worked so fucking good together. They knew if I speak English, I was talking to them. If I was yelling in Arabic, I was talking to everybody else. And, so my driver is listening to me give him directions on how to go through the streets because he can't see shit, right? So all of a sudden there's this big ass fucking M1A1 tank in the middle of the goddamn road, and I'm about to get impelled by the main gun. And so I started freaking out, and I'm like, go left. He goes right instead. We come so close to taking out the side of this house with our, up armored Humvee. Thankfully there's a U.S. soldier on top of the tank, and we're running blackout. He levels his rifle at me, and I start flashing my light on my pistol grip to let him know, hey, we're fucking Americans, dude, don't fucking light us up. And I'm yelling at him. Anyway, we make it around that obstacle. We go 20 more feet. Or, no, that's not right. Let me let this plane go by. We go maybe half a mile down the road tops. And there's this IP sitting in the road, Indian style, with an IED on his lap, and trying to disarm it. And so by this time, adrenaline is fucking high, right? It's been
we've been on this, IED.
Yeah. We haven't had sleep in almost 2 days, right? We're going through all this shit, and here we are at the tail end of it. We're just trying to make it back to base now. Yeah, I almost get impelled by a fucking M1A1 main gun. Then there's this dude that was probably 80 pounds, 5 foot nothing, disarming this IED in the middle of the road, smiling at me with 2 teeth in his mouth and giving me the thumbs up.
He's doing his part.
Yeah, he's doing his part, right? Exactly. Oh my God. And then, so we make it back into Baghdad. Let me let this guy go by. Man, it's being on a fob and the birds coming in, you gotta pause everything, let the helicopters fly over. All right, now you can
That's
talk
what I
again.
was trying to go for here, actually.
That was it?
This is
Perfect.
exactly what I was trying to do.
Oh, we need something to smell like Cheetos and ass, and man,
Oh, my goodness.
flashbacks would start pouring in.
I think I saw somebody smoking fentanyl down the street, so let me go ask them
There we go.
just to stand over here near us.
I just need to smell them.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
But no, and then so we're heading back, and there's this. Long story short, we end up on the wrong side of the fucking road, which turned out to be in our favor, because if we had been on the right side of the road, we would have got hit by an IED, but we were on the wrong side of the road. But there's this this is where it's really fucking funny. There's these two fucking donkeys in the middle of the road, and the male donkey is trying to mount the female donkey, right? This is like, we're getting at like 4 a.m. The sun's just cresting over like, Baghdad, the city line, curfew still on, nobody's out. It's just us on the fucking road and these two donkeys trying to fuck. And like, I don't know, it was something romantic and
Like the spaghetti,
a great memory,
the
yeah.
tramp spaghetti.
Yeah! Right? This donkey was trying everything he could to woo this female donkey, and it was in the cool crisp of the morning before the hot sun came out, and there's palm trees along the way, and
like a calm moment after a crazy situation.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Wow. There's so many amazing stories that people who have deployed can tell, and one of my favorite things to do is just to sit and listen and laugh, and there's so much joy that can be found in surviving crazy, ridiculous, unnecessary shit. I often think about the United States military. A bunch of 20-year-olds, the first time, it's pretty much college of war. They're out there going insane, partying, breaking things, shooting guns, getting angry, eating MREs 24/7.
Yeah.
It's always hot. You don't know if you're going to go to get a shower. You don't know if you're going to be able to even use a toilet. And my favorite thing about it is the water good? Because if not, you're going to be shitting everywhere. It is a complete mess, and the United States military deals with it so well. They play it up. They got the uniforms. They put on the uniform. Everything's good. We're all good here. I think being in the military, you survive so much shit that normal people would never want to go through. Oh, my
Absolutely.
God.
And that brings up a really good point with like the culture piece, and you see this a lot with folks trying to get help from federal organizations that I won't name. You go and you see a doctor, provider, and they ask you how you're doing. You're like, I'm good. And everything you just talked about is what is going on in their mind, right? Like, the water is fine. I'm not going to get dysentery today. I do have a somewhat of a bed, maybe, even if it's a sleeping bag on the ground. I have something. People aren't dying around me. People aren't trying to actively kill me. I am good. But in reality, their mental health is breaking down. Their body is breaking down. Their relationships are breaking down. But all that they can get out of, their mouth is, I'm good.
Because their perspective, they think that as long as they're not, they compare everything to their military experience.
Yeah, because if you say I'm not good, that makes you either weak, or that means you have to own that you're not good, and you're not, like, you cannot not take care of yourself. You cannot not take care of your buddies. And to admit that is it's incomprehensible.
Wow. There's a lot to think about there. Wow.
Yeah. But that's one of the things that I hope that people are getting better. Organizations and agencies are getting better at understanding that culture piece. And when, a veteran says, I'm good, let's dig into that. What does that really mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of. Let's identify their perspective of what good is. And I'm definitely guilty of that. It just blows me away that you just brought that up, because thinking right now, I'm good. Was coming home after working 70 hours a week, wiping down tables in Bellevue at 13 coins, way past labor laws. I do 24, 48-hour shifts, and my knees would be feeling like they're bone on bone. I would be depressed as hell. Mm-hmm. I would come home. I'd drink a whole bottle of Jack Daniels, and I'd go to bed, and I'd wake up the next day and do the next thing. I wouldn't want to talk to anybody.
Yep.
I was an asshole. I was angry. I was sad. I was hurting inside because I didn't know my purpose, and I thought I lost it because I went to a career field that was, to me, less worthy of all the work that I put in the career. I think it's important for us to get out of the military and find something where we can not
just like what we do, but love what we do. And help somebody else, even if it provide purpose through our service to others. Service doesn't necessarily have to end just because we take off our fucking uniform. It can continue.
It's very easy to get lost in the culture of our society when it's completely different than the culture that we were, burned in fire in, like hardened into steel, right? That became our culture, and you get out and you just get lost.
Awesome. Well, my last question for you is this, Miss. What does the phrase service and sacrifice mean to you?
Man, I could write a whole book about that one.
You should. You should. I'd read the whole thing. I'd try to do your voice too. I wouldn't do a good job, but I could try.
Just use fucks like commas, and if you see a comma in my book, it's really the fuck. But my editor made me put a comma instead of fuck, so just read it. The commas is fucks, and there you go.
Right up, hit a Guinness World Record for the most use of the word fuck in a book.
Yes,
ever.
Yes, exactly.
It's like Susie wrote it.
So service, it just, at the end of the day, what purpose did you serve? Can you look at yourself in the eye and know that I'm letting the plane go by? You're not like this little clod of elements saying, why won't the world devote itself to making me happy? Instead, you're taking the happiness, right? You're taking the fight to the world and taking the happiness to everybody else.
I love that. I always get a different answer, and it's one of my most favorite things about this series. I don't know how long this series might just run on forever. Service and sacrifice. I think there's so much value that can be found in veterans sharing their story, or sharing memories, even, or just bullshitting about shit, right? We're talking about shit and
throwing brooms
and shit, right? I think that
fuck the Geneva Convention.
Fuck the Geneva Convention. I'll tell you what, I don't even know who Geneva is. Honestly, I'm not taking it back. I did it. I've admitted it. It's been. Pat, is there a higher tenure for that? Higher tenure me out of my ability, my disability, and all that stuff now? Because I threw a broom. It is what it is. You can take my broom, but you can't take my life. All right.
Can't take my ship.
You can't take my ship. I still did it. Oh man. Okay, one last plane. Well, I really do appreciate you sitting here at FOB MVP here in FOB Rebel Fitness here, in my first ever podcast in the back of a truck. I've done podcasts in crazy places in the back of my deck. I've done podcasts inside an escalator, and this is going to be my first podcast out here. My mobile setup goes everywhere I go.
I love it.
I will always do a podcast anywhere I can. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thanks,
I know we sat through traffic to make this shit happen. So
we did. I-5 traffic. Shit.
Oh, yeah, no mercy there. I really do appreciate your candor, your insight, and more importantly, I appreciate the person you are and the work that you do. Now, it's hard to experience anything in life and not become jaded, but you have such a caring personality when it comes to those around you, and I really do admire that.
Well, thank you. And likewise, Eddie, you are a driver. You got the drive and the motivation and the control to make shit happen, and serving. I wouldn't call it sacrifice, but definitely serve people.
My wife sacrifices.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I always say that my wife does so much. She's so gracious to me and gives me the space to have these conversations. And to everybody listening out there, think about it for a second. The military families and the work that they do, that is someone who's definitely sacrificing in the idea of
Facts.
Service and sacrifice.
We're out there having fun throwing brooms and watching donkeys fuck, and our loved ones are back, home crying their eyes out and just depressed, worried, or sick about us.
And definitely, because in the military we learn the art of compartmentalization, which is a very, very slippery slope as well. So, if you guys are holding down that beach ball underwater, after a while it's going to get tired. So please do open up and talk to somebody, because you are worthy of life after the military and finding your purpose through service to others. Post it, or just working on being the best you, the best dad, the best mom, the best Jesus impersonator. Whatever you want to do in life, please do it 110%, because you deserve to find happiness. Thank you so much, Miss Erin, for joining us today on the first ever Truckcast. I love it.
Thank you, Eddie.
Absolutely. And thank you so much to each and everyone listening. It's been another episode of the Service and Sacrifice series at Off the Beam Podcast. Sharing stories here with veterans. What an amazing idea. Why can't we allow one person to open up a little bit and share some of their experiences and see who benefits from it? I definitely benefited from this conversation, and I hope you did as well. Make sure to tap in and listen to the rest of the vet stories on the channel. As always, we're on every single platform. If you don't like any of the options to listen, you know what? I will jump on another one. I got just went on YouTube recently, so hopefully I don't get banned for putting this one out, and I probably will. But I hope you are having a phenomenal day. Much love to you and your family, and as always, find reasons not to pass the pain versus reasons to. Much love, y'all. Bye bye.